Hi there, everybody. I just wanted to run through today some of the struggles and the resolution of those struggles and the results of those, and how we got to the result today and exactly what I did for this team. And I wanted to show it in Unreal as we play the game, and I wanted to show it in a few other things, specifically Houdini, and how I tackled some of the challenges that were presented as I went through helping the team build some of the tools that they could use so they had their job done easier. To start with, I'm going to go through some of the aspects of the effects that I made, and I'm going to talk about how Houdini is amazing for visual effects, but how it doesn't really transfer over to games very easily right now. There are some aspects that do, but some of them, it's just really not applicable to every situation, so I decided to switch over to Unreal and use some of its native tools and show you some of the results that I could get from that, and some of the design decisions towards that. So to start with, probably my favorite effect so far, and it's very simple, is the death animation for these little mushroom guys. And Spencer did a wonderful job animating them. It's very cute how they die. It's kind of sad and cute at the same time, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do when you're fighting off against these sentient mushroom monsters. So I wanted it to feel like they kind of blow up in a puff of little particles, and then they fade out as they go away. So let me just run you through and show you what it's like when you fight off against them. So they have this their health bar, and you can see as they go down, they get damaged. I didn't do this part, but I did the effect for them when they die. You see they explode into these little particulates that are just squares, because we decided that, you know, everything that we wanted in this world didn't have to be a square, but it wanted to feel, you know, as low poly as possible, very a cute art style. You can look at the world around it, and like those are just big blocks. These are blocks, but not everything was blocks, but it was all very simple and very stylish. And I decided all the effects I want to do should be the same way. So when these guys are killed, I felt that they should die in a way that was, you know, justifiably cute, and that was just like a simple little puff explosion. See if I can get this guy here. Okay, so I got them both, and they just pop up and they explode into this little, you know, cloud of purple and green stuff to signify that, you know, they're gone. And I thought it was cute. It was nothing intricate, but it really helps sell the fact that, you know, you've successfully defeated them, and then they're done, they're gone. And it synced up really, really well. It was fairly simple getting through, taking the animation. It destroyed the actor, and then I could just spawn them at the time that they were destroyed. So it felt like, you know, they're done, and then the effect happens, and it just happened really seamlessly. And I'm really happy how it looks. And just one more. Pow. And it's just really fun to look at. It kind of removes you from the fact that you're actually killing them, even though you know they are. Once it happens, it's kind of, it almost looks happy in a sense, but that's not exactly what we were going for. Just something cutesy. So that was a little bit on the effects for those. And another one was the ultimate attack, and it had multiple components to it. Okay. So I had multiple components to it. I'm going to show it here. We needed it to trigger when the character clicked R, and it needed to be on a timer so that you couldn't just use it constantly. It was bound to how often you could use your ultimate attack. So I'm going to play it here, and I'll talk through about some of the aspects that went into it. Okay, so looking at it, there was a ring around the character, some particles that flowed towards the character, and then a little charging effect on top of the sword, and energy that started flowing on it until the final release. So we wanted to make it feel like, you know, energy was being pulled towards this character, as being summoned, and then fueled into the attack that would eventually come out. as that little beam. And going on the same standard that we want everything to feel kind of blocky, so it was really easy to go with that and just do simple squares, and that worked out pretty perfectly for it. So let me run through it one more time. Oh, okay, I guess that's not going to work, but you get the idea that each part was its own distinct thing, but it came together as one system that helped emphasize the fact that it's a bigger attack and it can't be used very often, but it's powerful. There were no hitboxes on it. We couldn't really figure out how to get the particles to actually be treated like a hitbox, but that wasn't really important. We wanted to make sure that things looked cool first, and then, or at least just that the gameplay was up to snuff in a way that people could just play the game. And then the last thing that I did here was created just this little particle effect that would happen when you triggered the opening of a chest. And even though sometimes you open up a chest that's not very interesting, you might get like a health pot or an acorn or something like that. I want it to feel special every time you open up a chest. So when you open it up, it just has this little fountain of golden goodness that signifies, hey, you found this chest, awesome, good job. Here's some reward for you doing that. So let's open it up. And it just sprays them out. And it's happy and it looks fun. And we wanted it to feel like, the player did a good job for when they actually found a chest. And really, we didn't have that many particle effects. Just some things that were simple enough that would give a little bit more, excitement to some of the more monotonous things, like opening up a chest. Sometimes it can be really, exaggerated, but we just wanted to feel exciting for whenever someone did something, and to help accentuate the idea of what was happening. So there were the effects for the character and some of the environmental pieces, and that's one part that I did in this game. And the second part was, if you can see these trees that are spread around. There's a few different types of trees, but these ones that have like these hanging branches that feel a little bit more decayed. They're not really decayed, but we just wanted it to feel like it's older and swamp-like, and a tree that might grow here. And I did this in Houdini, and I'll jump over in just a sec to show you exactly how I built this, but there were a ton of issues that came with trying to build it, but I eventually found a way that would resolve that, and it worked out perfectly. And it really gave Joey and everyone else that would work on this environment a way to easily and artistically control exactly how they wanted the tree to look. So I'm going to hop over to Houdini and show you how that works right now. So in Houdini, if I go up here, and this is a long node network, I'm not going to talk about all of it, that would just bore everyone to death. But the main idea was that I wanted it to be something where you could just draw out the shape of the tree, or like the curvature of the tree, and then a tree would just appear. And then you could change, parameters on it. You could change the length of certain things. You could, really tweak how you wanted the tree to look. But everything would be sort of handled for you as soon as you just drew. So it was really artistically friendly. If you had no idea how to work with, building this kind of stuff, or you didn't want to have to model all the pieces, you could do it just by, drawing. It was really a challenge to get this set up because, the underlying system is really program heavy, really code heavy, and there were just some things that were difficult to handle. So I'll show you first off how it's done. So it's just, you just draw out a curve, and just draw on your screen. You get a curve, awesome. I resampled it, converted it to something that was usable, and then I just transformed it so it'd be bigger, and maintain a general size for the trees, and then just smooth it out so we could get something that wasn't so jagged. And then this is the most important part right here, these two nodes. It's something called parallel transport, which if I turn these on and I turn on these three right here, you can see that every single point has their own. Okay, let me rephrase this. So, at the origin, there is a world transform. It's 0, 0, 0. It's an identity matrix that says, this is the direction in X, this is the direction in Y, this is the direction in Z. And everything would be based by transforming that and then transforming back, just like, most 3D programs do. But I needed something that was showing the way that the curve was actually curving and have a direction that would flow along the curve. So with parallel transport, it creates these tangents, and then it creates another matrix around that. So I get the tangents from this point to this point, and it's pointing in that direction all the way along it. And it doesn't matter how the curve is facing, and I'll show you that right here. I can just go and change any of these points. Let me change them here. If I just pull this up and some of these points out, it really doesn't matter where they are. It will still build the thing in the same manner. So I come back down to here, and boom, all of these points still have that system that's going on top of them. So you can change any aspect about the curve and everything will hold up. If I want it to be resampled so I have more points, well, I can do that. I can give it more points, and you can see, even though I changed how many points there were, all of these points still have that attribute about them that shows the direction that they're facing, and a little matrix to show, where are they locally spaced in X, Y, and Z. And that was really useful because I could base almost every aspect of the tree tool on just this one part right here, this one aspect of having these 3 vectors. I could get, the limbs facing in the right way. They'd be pointing and they'd go out in the length based on one of the vectors. I could have everything rotate around, this vector that's going along it. I could do all this math underneath it that would show the system, hey, at this point, this is what needs to happen. This is a particular characteristics of this point. So really, really useful. Took me a lot of time to figure that out, and there were lots of different ways to handle that just weren't as strong as this. But shout out to Intagma, wonderful group of CG professionals, seriously talented, just incredible, showed me how to do this. And if I pull this down and I open it up here, you can see it's not even that code heavy. It's like, I don't know, 30-40 lines maybe. It's nothing huge, but it was the foundation for this whole system, and without this whole system would not work at all. And if I go down a little bit further, I can show you I made this part right here where I could tell how far along I wanted branches to start, and it could start from the base all the way up to the top, and I could make this little section in between. I could just really tell it. So let's pull it down here so I don't have any at the top and some nearer to the bottom. And then if I come down here, you can see that I'm getting these branches that are pointing off into the direction that they need to, but it also keeps the vectors going along with it. So every time I add something on top, I get that information transferred along it, which I can keep using later on. So if I come down here, lots of math, lots of different things. The final result was really, really awesome. And what it did was it allowed me to create a tree for this environment that you didn't really have to do anything for. You just drew out a curve and you got a tree. And if I go back up, let me change this tree. No, I want this curve to be, I want it to start near the top instead. I don't want so many branches at the bottom. Sorry, it takes a little bit. It's a little heavy, but it's not crazy. You can see I just changed a few attributes about it, and boom, everything up until that point is still handled perfectly fine, and I just get branches near the top. If I want to change the tree at all, I'll come down here. Let's make this tree not so, on top of itself. Let's move some points out. So if I come here, switch up some of these points. Get them a little bit better spaced. And let's pull this point out. Awesome, cool. This tree is very curvy. Changed everything about the curve. Let's go back down and see what it looks like. And you can see when this pops up that just by changing that curve, I get a totally different tree. I can control all the aspects of the tree by changing the curve, the attributes around it, even, the gravity that's being applied to, the foliage on it is still handled. It's all based off of where the branches are going and gravity. Everything is handled for the artist. They don't have to worry about that. They just get to have fun and drawing. And this was insanely useful because you could just draw and draw and draw and place wherever you want to and tweak things, and you didn't have to worry about what was happening, under the hood. You could just be an artist, and that was really something I wanted to focus on. And it creates some really interesting looking ones. Like, I wasn't even intending for this, but this looks like a fan, which is pretty cool. I mean, you could really come down here and just hide inside of it, and boom. It's a really awesome way to create some awesome looking environmental pieces just by drawing and having fun with it. So these were two of the main pieces that I wanted to cover for some of the development that I did inside the game for the team, and I hope you enjoyed, and hope this gave you some insightful knowledge about what kinds of things you can do that are artistic and programming, and where they meet together. It can be a really wonderful place. So thank you for listening.